We frequently need to check whether an email address is valid, and for any email address we can determine if it's in the correct format, and secondly, if a server exists for the part of the email address occurring after the @ sign. We use the PHP function checkDNSRR with the host, which is the part of the email address after the @ sign, modified with MX. To check email format, we use regular expressions, which are an extremely elegant means to match strings of text, but way outside the scope of this course. However, for those of you who already understand regex, then you'll find the PHP capability in this area very useful. I'd thoroughly recommend anyone considering PHP programming seriously to delve into this topic. And a reasonable starting place is the Wikipedia page on regular expressions. In PHP, we use the function pregmatch to implement regex, and there's a more detailed explanation of what it does and how it works in the PHP manual for pregmatch. For now, we have an example more to illustrate the use of PHP pregmatch function than regex itself. We're going to be using 5 files. Firstly, the fn strings file, then the style sheet, then our new formatting functions, and then the tuser SQL function, and finally the include file user insert. The aim of this, of course, is to check whether the email addresses entered for a new user are valid. So first of all, in function tstrings, just above the final PHP tag, paste the snippet functions email check. These are the actual email checking functions using regex to compare the strings. In the first function, check email, it asks, is the email in the parameter of the function roughly matching the correct positioning for the @ sign and any dots that might be in it? The second pregmatch says, are the pieces of the email address separated by the @ sign and the dots in the right format and containing the right sorts of characters? The second function, checkEmailMX, checks to see, using the checkDNSRR function, whether the host has an MX record or an A record or a CNAME record on the server. We use the PHP function explode here to separate email into an array delimited by the @ sign, and both these new functions simply return true or false. Save the functions, and in the style sheet, paste the new style at the very end, so position your cursor at the end and paste the style functions data error into style sheet. And this is going to be the CSS style that we'll use to report errors to the browser. Data error style has a font size, font weight, and a color of red. Save that and move on to the formatting include functions. And at the end, paste the data error function formatting. And this function data error uses the style data error to return a span class to the browser. Save this formatting include file and move on to the functions include, which provides the function user insert. We're going to completely revise this entire file, so highlight it all with Control A, delete it all, and paste in the new revised fn user SQL file, which tells us that it's version 1005 and has some more details about what the revision does. This file fundamentally checks the email that's returned or supplied as a parameter to the function user insert. It also returns a return message rather than just an error message. And the return message can be a success message, which if the SQL insert was successfully performed, it returns username was successfully inserted with ID number, and the ID number is collected with MySQL insert ID, which we covered in a previous lesson. We can save that now and move on to the final file, the include file, user insert. We have two modifications to this file. Firstly, we're going to replace the entire post user form. So if you mark the end brace of that form, you can see where the form starts. Sweep the cursor over all of that, including the two fields above it. Delete that and paste the new version, form post user revision 10.5. So we've pasted that part between the braces. This new form defines fields for the form with values so that the current value can be retained on the page if there is an error, meaning that the user doesn't have to retype it. Also, on this page, we need to make use of the new user insert function. So where we insert a new record, delete that and paste the new snippet functions insert to TP user insert. And this uses the new user insert function, but also makes use of any message returned. So it simply echoes a new user message, which is set equal to the returned value of the user insert function, which of course we created in the file fntusersql. Now save that, and let's go to our home page and log in as admin. And click the Create New User menu. And let's enter test7 with a password of test7 and email of test@test.com and registered user. And try to save that. And we get straight away an error message that it cannot find an MX server for that email address. Clearly there is no MX server for test.com. So let's change it to tmit.com, which I know to exist. Try to save that. And yes, that works fine. Test7 was successfully inserted. Let's try another one. Test7 with a different password, test8, and make sure we get this next one correct, test8, and try to save. And it failed due to a duplicate entry. So it wasn't interested in giving us two users with the same username. I suggest you try all combinations of that to validate that it works.